Good morning, Christ Centre, and welcome to our daily devotionals. I'm Fiona, and today we're continuing with Luke. It's a lot of verses, so buckle up and off we go. Therefore, if your whole body is full of light and no part of it is dark, it will be completely lighted, as when the light of a lamp shines on you. When Jesus had finished speaking, a Pharisee invited him to eat with him. So he went in and reclined at the table. But the Pharisee, noticing that Jesus did not first wash before the meal, was surprised. Then the Lord said to him, "Now then, you Pharisees clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside you're full of greed and wickedness. You foolish people, did not the one who made the outside make the inside also? But give what is inside the dish to the poor, and everything will be clean for you. Woe to you, Pharisees, because you give God a tenth of your mint, rue, and all other kinds of garden herbs, but you neglect justice and the love of God. You should have practiced the latter without leaving the former undone. Woe to you, Pharisees, because you love the most important seats in the synagogue and greetings in the marketplace. Woe to you, because you're like unmarked graves, which men walk over without knowing it." One of the experts in the law answered him, "Teacher, when you say these things, you insult us also." Jesus replied, "And you experts in the law, woe to you, because you load people down with burdens they can hardly carry, and you yourselves will not lift one finger to help them. Woe to you, because you build tombs for the prophets, and it was your forefathers who killed them. So you testify that you approve of what your forefathers did. They killed the prophets, and you build their tombs. Because of this, God in his wisdom said, I will send them prophets and apostles, some of whom they will kill and others they will persecute. Therefore, this generation will be held responsible for the blood of all the prophets that has been shed since the beginning of the world, from the blood of Abel to the blood of Zechariah, who was killed between the altar and the sanctuary. Yes, I tell you, this generation will be held responsible for it all. Woe to you, experts in the law, because you have taken away the key to knowledge. You yourselves have not entered, and you have hindered those who are entering." When Jesus left there, the Pharisees and the teachers of the law began to oppose him fiercely and to besiege him with questions, waiting to catch him in something he might say. Right. The beginning of these verses focuses on the inside and the outside of our bodies. Jesus talks about our bodies being full of light. This verse makes me think of dark nights in winter and how beautifully a single lantern can illuminate the darkness, or a firework exploding in the November sky and the spectacular colour and light produced by one single rocket or Catherine wheel can just make the sky illuminated and bright. So if our bodies are to be like lamps in the darkness, how can we be lights in our world? Well, we start by following his word and abiding with him through prayer and time spent listening and responding to the Holy Spirit. We do need to share our faith, not just by words, but by our actions. Just like the firework in the sky, our light should spread beyond our own family and friends and to those we meet in the workplace, the playground, in the shops, when we take walks or travel on trains, etc. Jesus teaches us to act in kindness and with equality. We don't always need to speak to show God's love. In fact, as my dear old dad always says, speech is silver, but silence is golden. We can listen, we can smile, we can speak volumes by choosing not to involve ourselves in unhelpful conversations. We all know Christians who we admire, who we can literally feel the warmth and light radiating from them. How do they achieve this? Maybe some of it's down to their character, but I bet a lot's to do with the amount of time they spend desiring God's will for their life. Jesus says that if the whole body is full of light, then there will be no dark. That's encouraging, because if Jesus says it, then it must be true. Is it possible to achieve a body full of light? Apparently so, but it might take some of us a lifetime to achieve this. Jesus continues with his outside and inside analogy when the Pharisees notice Jesus does not wash before the meal. He uses the situation to illustrate that just because the outside of your cup might be clean, the inside might not be. My husband Mike drinks black coffee and kindly leaves coffee mugs all around the house for me to find. Cleaning the outside takes me seconds, but I really have to scrub the inside to get the coffee stains out. If we're filled with greed and wickedness, then it's going to take a lot of scrubbing. The Bible calls it laundress soap. Jesus reminds us that God made the inside and the outside of us. We're all very good at jumping in the shower and dressing in clean clothes. But what does God see? Well, in me, I have to confess, he does see a little bit of kitchen envy, house envy, large garden envy, talent envy, able-bodied envy, particularly runners, children all sorted and doing brilliantly envy. Not nice, really. And don't get me started on wickedness. My thoughts are far from what they should be a lot of the time. Jesus' antidote to this situation is to give the poor what's inside us. I wasn't really quite sure what this meant, but the Amplified Bible describes it as, give what is in as charity, that is, acts of mercy and compassion, not as a public display, but as an expression of your faithfulness to God. And then indeed, all things are clean for you. I like this. I found it more practical, found it helpful. Public display seems to feature further in these verses. Lots of woes to you, given by Jesus to the Pharisees. Giving 1/10 of your salary is good, but not, Jesus says, if you neglect justice and love for God. Woe to you if you like to take the important seats at church. I think for us that more refers to feelings of superiority in church. Just because we've been members for years and served in every area imaginable doesn't make us important or more worthy in God's eyes. Jesus continues his woe to you. He warns the Pharisees not to be like unmarked graves. People walk over you and don't know it. I guess this is a warning about being ineffective for Christ. Don't go through life without making a difference. Be a light and do good with it. There's a warning for the experts in the law. You leaders, don't wear people down with burdens when you don't do anything for do your fair share yourself. I guess that might also apply to Julian and I. We like to lead the group, but we have to do our fair share of leading. By the end of these verses, we see Pharisees and teachers very unhappy. They oppose him fiercely and have questions. Sound familiar? We can all just be as guilty of questioning why we are called to give yet again, fast yet again, etc., etc. But Jesus never promised a life full of answers. But he did gift us with the Holy Spirit to guide us and the Bible to give us direction. So let us today focus on being a light in what we choose to do and say, and let us get our fuel for our lights from Jesus himself. Thank you for listening.